Hi everyone, it's Little Blue and you're listening to my podcast, aka Little Blue, on Tuesday evening. And you may have noticed I've not done a podcast in a couple of days. There's a couple of reasons for this. The main one is I actually injured my voice. I was calling out to Baby Blue the other day and it was sort of instantaneous. There was a pain and then it was quite hoarse for a number of days. A bit like when you go to a bar or a club or like a gig or something and you're shouting above music. And then you come away and you're hoarse for a couple of days. And it's that horrible sort of scratchy sound. And if you're listening to it on a podcast, it can get quite monotonous and not very good to listen to. It's a bit irritating. So I hope it's not too bad today. And we can have an enjoyable podcast. The other reason is obviously the country is completely changed in a number of weeks. And there is an element of me needing to really address that now. I've been keeping in touch with it. I've been looking things up online when I've heard, like, there's been this announcement, that announcement. I've then looked it up. But I haven't watched the news. And it's been a purposeful thing. I haven't done it because it's been really affecting my PTSD and paranoia. So I kept a distance from actually physically watching the news, but I felt very relaxed yesterday. And when Boris Johnson gave his address at 8 p.m, it's the first time I've watched the news really since the Australian bushfires. But it felt like it was going to be an important thing to watch. And when I did watch it, it felt historical. It felt like the type of speech that is going to be taught in history lessons for generations to come, if you know what I mean. It sort of rang bells of Churchill and wartime and other times that the country has been in crisis. It was quite a poignant and very well put together speech. And speaking as somebody that didn't really hold Boris Johnson in that high esteem, I came away with a lot of respect for him. And I feel confident that he is doing everything he can to keep us all safe. So please, from the bottom of my heart, listen to the advice that is being given to you. Encourage people in the kindest way that you can to listen to him and to follow the advice being given, because it is so important. We all have elderly loved ones. We all have elderly friends or know people who are within the age brackets that are vulnerable. We probably all know someone with asthma. We probably all know somebody with the health conditions that are affected by this awful virus. So do it for them. If you need someone to do it for them. Do it for your children. Do it for your grandparents. And do it for the people you don't even know yet. The friends you're going to make that if this gets to them, you probably won't even get to meet. Do you know? So please, from the bottom of my heart, stay in as much as you can. Now, I know that's hard. I have just been in isolation with my daughter because we were very, very ill. We went into isolation when just Baby Blue had a bit of a tickly cough. And because it didn't stop and it was continuous, I made the decision on the Friday evening that we would not be going out for at least 7 days because the rules were different when we went into isolation. And I'm glad I did, because 2 days later, her temperature was up. 2 days later, my temperature was up. I had breathing issues. I had pressure on my chest. I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. I didn't have any energy. I just did not feel very well at all. And then my temperature skyrocketed to a point that it has never been. It's never been as high as it has been in the last few weeks. Do I think we had coronavirus? I'm not going to say yes, because I'm not a doctor. I don't know. but we definitely had every single symptom of it. I didn't have every symptom of flu. There were some symptoms of flu I didn't have. I didn't have a cold. I didn't have a sore throat. But I did, Baby Blue had a sore throat actually. But I did have the breathlessness. I did have the pressure on your chest and all of that, and the cough. And so yes, it's likely, and it's more likely than not. That is why you have to presume you have it. Even with just a little tickly cough, you have to act as if you have it. And that's not going to hospital, because the mild symptoms can be treated at home. If you have the medium symptoms, it's quite evident, and you have to call 111, and they will decide whether you need hospitalisation or not. But right now the NHS cannot be overwhelmed by people with mild symptoms, because they don't have enough nurses, they don't have enough space. So please be kind, and if it is treatable at home, be sensible about it. So just say, okay, I can treat that with paracetamol, I can treat that by staying in and resting. It's when it gets to the point that you cannot breathe, you cannot do this, your temperature is above the 40s. That is when you have to ring NHS 111 and take their guidance, please. And it starts with a tickly cough or a high temperature. So please listen, because by going out with your tickly cough for a run, going out for your shopping, you put people's lives in danger. And I've got two parents who are sort of the later end of 60 or the early end of 70. And they are very vulnerable right now. And that scares me, that my parents can't go out. They're very active people, usually. My dad has health conditions, strangely none of which are affected by coronavirus, but he has a lot of health conditions. I've got a best friend who has severe asthma. She's younger than me, and she's having to stay in her house, and she can't live life normally, and that really upsets me. I've got friends with other health conditions as well, and I think of you guys daily. I sit here and think, what must this be like for you? Yes, you're fit and healthy, but if one of them even so much as got a little symptom of it, I would be beyond scared for them, and would just hope and pray that the NHS can help them, because there are so many people needing to be treated right now. So please listen to the advice. Do it for your friends, do it for your loved ones, do it for the people you don't even know. Because, yeah, it's so important we stop this. And if you want to think of it as a generalised thing, I guess, for those of you who aren't going to be infected, those who don't have health conditions, aren't within that age bracket, the sooner you do it, the sooner life can go back to normal. Businesses can start again. You can go out again. You can start going to the zoo, to the park. Holidays will stop being cancelled. If you want to look at it that sort of level, the sooner you do it, the sooner it'll be over. Please, 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 please. I feel like I've now got to apologise, because I've brought my podcast down because I wanted to focus on the positives. But with every big thing that happens, even something like this, something like mental health, anything, any issue you have, until you fully talk about and address the problem, you cannot find a solution. And that is a personal thing, and that is also a general thing. So please take this seriously. I'm sure most people are. To today when we had to go out to top up my gas and electricity meter, the amount of houses we passed that had people within them or in the gardens, because you could hear the kids playing, it's a bit like a Sunday or a bank holiday. That's what it felt like. When we met anyone in the street, everyone kept their distance. Even people we knew, we sort of kept a good distance and talked to them, but we talked to them for a very brief amount of time. We wanted to talk to them longer because we've only had each other's company. We'd love to have more company. But it was like I said to my dad, I said, I'll give you a ring when I get home because we can't be seen to be creating a crowd. And I'm actually very proud of the area I live in right now, because when I have had to go out, everyone is following the rules. Everyone is. And our local supermarkets are now adopting the one in, one out sort of attitude to shopping. I think it was Waitrose. There's a queue outside, so when someone comes out, someone can go in, and there are only allowed to be 46 people within that store at one time. That's shoppers, not staff included. And that is so sensible. And it's a big Waitrose. It's a good sized Waitrose. They actually took down 3 shops, I think, to make that Waitrose. So it's not a small one. It is one of the bigger ones. And it's a very well spaced Waitrose as well. So it's keeping everyone safe. And when I went in there yesterday, it actually stank of hand sanitizer. You can tell they are cleaning it in there. It was quite a relief actually to smell that hand sanitizer. So it's such a comfort to know that everybody locally is taking it seriously. People are wearing masks. People are wearing rubber gloves. People are keeping their distance. They're only going places if they really need to. But I did go out today with Baby Blue to go for a walk with her scooter. And we tend to go on the walk where we go up to this wooded area and then we go down through the field there and then we can come back. So it's like a big circle back to our flat. And we got to the gate of the sort of the green area. There were so many people. I just turned round and said, no, we're going back. We'll go and get our gas and electricity instead. She was like, can I take my scooter? I was like, of course you can. You can ride your scooter into town, because I wouldn't normally let her do that. But I'm kind of glad I did, because it meant she zoomed into town and we got there quicker. And there weren't any complaints about coming back because she was having too much fun. So, yeah, it was quite a shock. I actually saw a family having a picnic on the grass as well, which it baffles me, and it just goes to show that there are still a minority. It's definitely not everyone. There are less people doing this than more, but there are still people that are trying to find something positive to do in the wrong way. If you're going to have a picnic in your garden. You cannot do it publicly. You cannot do it communally at all. I think a friend of mine put that they knew someone that had a dinner party on Saturday night. You can't do that. You can't have people around. Please, please, please follow the guidelines. Now, tomorrow's podcast, I promise I will bring you some more good news. I'm going to think some things up, do some funny things. Maybe I'll do a Q&A over on Instagram tomorrow, where you can ask us questions or something like that. Give me your ideas. I'd love to hear them. aka littleblue@gmail.com. And I'll bring the podcast back up again. But I just felt I needed to address this because it is so serious. The country's on lockdown and there are law enforcements in place for a reason. Please listen to them. Right, I'm going to bring the podcast to an end. Baby Blue just made me jump out of my skin because she's woken up and I didn't see her there. Oh dear. Anyway, have a good one. Please stay safe and please be sensible. Take care. Bye.